Welcome, Pontiac High School students, to this lesson on the powers of Congress. The Congress of the United States exists to solve the problems of our nation. That's why they were created. And their powers are handed down by the Constitution, and each reflect one of the goals set forth in the preamble to the Constitution. The preamble lists those 6 main goals, and we're going to go through their powers and how they align with several of those goals in this lesson. First goal of the preamble is to promote the general welfare. In this, Congress has the power to act to make our lives better. They regulate business and trade. They manage relationships between U.S. and foreign countries. And Congress does these things to keep the nation and its people safe. That is why Congress has the power to do this, to make us wealthier, wiser, healthier, etc. They also have the power of the budget. Congress has the ability to raise money and to determine how it's spent. Congress is responsible for taxation and for government borrowing. So they get money either by borrowing it from others or by getting it from us in taxes. And this gives Congress tremendous control over how government programs are run. So if Congress is giving money to a particular organization, and that organization is not acting in the best interests of the country, Congress has the power to take away their money, and therefore they've got a lot of power over how that agency or that organization is run. Congress has the power to declare war, but we haven't actually done this since 1941. The president doesn't need congressional approval to use our military. They can send the military wherever they want for whatever reason they want. So we just kind of stopped declaring war quite a long time ago. We just go. We're at war, but we haven't declared it. Now, when the president does this, he does have to report to Congress his reasons for using military force. This was something that was added in the 70s. And Congress has the power to refuse the money needed for the war. War is expensive. Congress has all the power over how money is spent. So if the president wants to go to war with somebody but can't pay the army and can't buy supplies, he can't very well go to war. So while they don't declare war anymore, they still do have quite a bit of authority over defense. Congress has the power to establish justice. In this, they have 2 important judicial powers. They have the power to create or destroy any lower court. They can't touch the Supreme Court, that's in the Constitution. But Congress can create or destroy any lower court that they want. And we have about 100 lower courts within our federal judicial system. Those are all under congressional authority in one way or another. The second one is that only Congress has the power to impeach high officials and remove them from office. So if a judge or the president of the United States violates the laws of our country, Congress and only Congress has the power to remove them from their job for having done so. There are also some unlisted powers, some things that Congress can do, even though it's not explicitly stated in the Constitution. These powers exist because of this one simple phrase in the Constitution known as the elastic clause or the necessary and proper clause, which states that Congress can write laws that they consider necessary and proper for carrying out their other listed powers. So basically, if Congress thinks that they need a specific power, and the Constitution doesn't specifically forbid it to them, they can simply make the argument that that power is necessary and proper, and they have it. So the elastic clause really stretches their power. Other non-legislative powers, other things Congress does that has nothing to do with law, includes their power of investigation. This lets them look into the potential misuse of power by members of government to see whether or not crimes have been committed or if government officials are doing things that they really shouldn't be doing. The results of these investigations sometimes lead to impeachment, so it's kind of tied up in their judicial power. All right, limits. Seems like they are very powerful at this moment. However, there are limitations, and there are several that are built in explicitly in the Constitution. The best known of these limitations is the veto power of the president, where the president of the United States can forbid the passage of a new law. Judicial branch also has a limitation on the powers of Congress in that they can declare the laws of Congress to be unconstitutional and therefore illegal. So they can make a law illegal and therefore cancel it out because the Supreme Court has ruled that the Constitution really just the Constitution or their interpretation of the Constitution has said that that law is a no-go. Another limitation is something called habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is the idea that you cannot jail somebody and not give them the right to appear in court. So you can't pass a law that says, Americans who side with ISIS or other terrorist organizations caught within the United States do not have the right to a trial by jury. Nope, can't say that. That's illegal because of habeas corpus. A writ of habeas corpus ensures that that criminal is taken to court. So once somebody's arrested, writ of habeas corpus is drawn up, and they have to be taken to court. And at court, they have to know what they're being charged with and have an opportunity to defend themselves. Congress cannot deny this right, except for in times of foreign invasion, which terrorism is not, and during a case of civil war. Habeas corpus can be suspended during those times. However, no person can be convicted of a crime without a trial, and that remains true. We can just hold them longer before trying them during extreme times. Another limitation is something called ex post facto. We love Latin in law. Ex post facto is Latin, which basically means after the fact. Congress cannot punish somebody for an action that was not illegal at the time they acted. So we cannot dislike something that somebody did, pass a law, and then arrest them. Nope. It wasn't illegal when they did it. They cannot be charged with a crime. This is because ex post facto laws, after the fact laws, had been used at different times by different countries just to punish their political opponents. And we did not want that to happen in our country. Hence, no ex post facto punishment. That is our lesson today on the powers of Congress. They are strong and yet limited, and there they are. Thank you for joining me today, and farewell.